Hi, I'm Joel Bloom, president of New Jersey Institute of Technology. At NJIT, we believe that not only our students, but all citizens need to be informed about the issues facing higher education. As New Jersey's Science and Technology University, NJIT is proud to support the important programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation and their partners in public television.
Creating a Safer Newark, next on Caucus, New Jersey.
Funding for this edition of Caucus, New Jersey has been provided by TD Bank, NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology, PSE&G, committed to improving New Jersey's economy and strengthening its communities, RWJ Barnabas Health, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, the law firm of Gibbons PC, and by Verizon. Promotional support provided by NJ.com. Small news, big news, true Jersey. And by New Jersey Family Magazine and NJFamily.com.
Welcome to Caucus. I'm Steve Adubato. The Safer Newark Council's mission is to reduce violent crime in Newark, New Jersey by 20% by the year 2020. Here to discuss what it's really going to take to make that happen and to explore the larger relationship, the complex relationship between police and minority community, we have Dr. Todd Clear, is a professor at Rutgers University Newark and an advisor for the Safer Newark Council. Marjorie Perry is the president and CEO of MZM Construction Management and a trustee of the Caucus Educational Corporation, our production company. Elijah Greene is a graduate of the Stand and Deliver Youth Leadership Program. And finally, Anthony Ambrose is the Director of Public Safety in the City of Newark, but more specifically, the Department of Police, Fire, and Emergency Management. Correct. You know, we are doing this program. We have to disclose when we're doing this program. It will repeat a few times, but we were doing this in the middle of July 2016. So let's put things in context. We've been planning this program for a while. Second half of the program, we'll try to talk about the larger, complex, and very important issue of police relations, particularly in the black community. But let's talk about making Newark safer. Director, what are we talking about in terms of making Newark safer, and how are we getting there?
Well, I think, first of all, we have to have a plan. We have to have a plan. In order to have the plan, you have to have data. And I think that for years and years that we do have data. We go by our crime data. We go by the time of day it occurs. It changes with the seasons, who's doing it, who's coming out of, who's incarcerated is coming out. So I think having a partnership with Rutgers University, where they actually got a really good peek at our data, and they really dug into it. And now they could tell us basically more than we can. They can tell us the age group. They can tell us a particular crime against, is it a person on person that knows one another, or is it a stranger?
That matters?
It does, because, you know, believe it or not, there's a majority, there's a percentage of crime that you really can't, domestic violence. No matter how many police officers you have, it's still going to occur. So the same thing with robberies, or the same thing with homicides, and the same thing with shootings. You'll find out that most of your shootings, most of your homicides are either retaliatory, or they're just common misunderstandings where you looked at me the wrong way when we were at a dance the other night, or you looked at my girlfriend, or you didn't get out of the way when I came down the street. Yeah. So, you know, that's where, you know, Rutgers University comes in, where they can dig their teeth into this and really give us some good data.
Professor, talk about this. Sorry for interrupting, Director. Talk about the Director's comments about the partnership. What is the partnership, and make it clear to people?
So it's a multi-way partnership. Rutgers University houses the Safer Newark Council, but the Safer Newark Council is citizens in the City of Newark who have made a special commitment to be a partner in producing public safety in the city. There's this pattern, really, where citizens point fingers at the police. Yes. The police are all alone, but public safety is not produced just by the police. It's produced by all the kinds of resources that you can bring in a city like Newark to bear. And what Rutgers University can bring is what universities do, which is, learn things, analyze problems, look at what is working in other places. And the School of Criminal Justice at Rutgers University Newark is one of the best in the world, and we have specialists in this area. So we make a special commitment to getting engaged
What
with
have you
the
found,
police.
before I go to Marge and Elijah, real quick, what have you found, just give us a couple of key themes, messages that you found in your research.
3 key things.
Go.
1, Newark is not a war zone. On most of the measures of crime, when you compare Newark to similar cities, Newark actually does better. One of the lowest assault rates in the nation for urban areas. A low burglary rate, for example. So point 2, where Newark stands out is on murders and on robberies. And those are really bad crimes to stand out on. And that's why the place feels unsafe. But you can focus laser-like on those 2 problems. Instead of thinking Newark has a crime problem, Newark has those problems. And then the third thing is those problems have their own special dimensions. And that's the digging deeper part. Who's engaged? What's the concentration? How can you intervene? And how can you bring those numbers down?
Marge, let me ask you this. You're a business person. You serve on our board to disclose. We have a relationship. We've known Marge for a long time. You know the city. You're of the city. You hear this discussion between the director and Professor Clear. A lot of it's based on statistics, analyzing things logically, rationally. What do you feel?
The minority community is not about statistics. They're angry. Period. End of story. So you can have all the data you want in terms of what you just described, but if you don't live in the culture and understand what the murders are about, 1, we still have anywhere from 15 to 17% unemployment rate. Or 2, they're making subpar salaries. So that's the feeling that's behind the murders. There's no data we need for that. I hear it every day. I watch it. I see it.
You mean frustration connected to violence?
The frustration is seriously, and then you give them something like what just happened in Dallas and in these other places.
Make it clear. We are doing this program on the heels of the horrific killings of the 5 police officers in Dallas, the 2 incidents, highly publicized, that are being investigated. Well, let's just say there are serious questions about how 2 African-American men died in incidents involving police using their firearms. Fair assessment, Anthony? Mm-hmm. Pick it up.
So
I'll come to you later.
So I hear that, and I can read data, and I've known this wonderful man here for a while, so we know that's being done.
He's of the city as well, so go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, and I've known Director Ambrose for years. But we're at a different place now.
Where are we?
If you have a young man like him coming out of high school.
Going to Rutgers, by the way, in the fall as we speak.
That's right. Yeah. And he doesn't have a job within the next 2 years of graduating college. He falls into the statistic hole. That we don't even have to have a data board for that. That's a fact. So what has to happen now is that the people who are coming to meetings and sitting down and say, okay, yes, we can make a difference, whatever, but if Johnny's angry with him, and he's jealous because he's doing well in college, he might be dead by this afternoon.
So stay on that.
That's the emotion side. I'm talking strictly about the emotion
but stay on
side.
That. Elijah, here's the thing. Statistic-wise, the director and Professor Clear make a case, a compelling case, that things are not as bad in Newark as, I hate to talk about Chicago, but it comes up a lot. Not nearly as bad as Chicago and other cities. Marge said what she just did. You're the best of the best. Our Stand and Deliver Leadership Development Program is a program we've been doing for 17 years. You're one of the best speakers, one of the greatest leaders. You have a great future ahead of you. How safe do you feel in the city?
I feel safe. I think a lot of things has to do with just being accustomed to certain things,
Right.
and really being desensitized to certain things. So for a while, you don't really notice maybe some of the smaller crimes, and then in the neighborhood I live in, the area, it's not that bad. So I feel safe. I'm used to the people, and I know the people around my neighborhood. So I play football on the streets. I play basketball. I hang out with other kids. So they're not just anybody walking the street. Those are my friends. These are people I went to school with, I played football with, I did activities with. So it's really a neighborhood.
But do you understand a high percentage of your peers, comparable age, who would say, no, I don't feel particularly safe in the city?
Yes, and I know those are some of my close friends, and that has to do with the neighborhood they live around.
Is it
every
neighborhood
block-
driven?
Yeah, I believe every block is different. And
Really?
It depends on the people in that block. I live on Pomona Avenue, and it's relatively a safe neighborhood. Walking up the streets, I jog around the block and
how about
everything.
you move around the city?
It depends what ward you go to, the neighborhood. It depends how many abandoned buildings are in your neighborhood, how many schools, how many churches. It's just.
Do you know where to stay away from?
Definitely.
Director, is crime and safety largely connected to where in the city?
No, it's basically, it's a city of two tales. If you go to the Ironbound,
Explain to folks, and we're in 6 states right now.
Okay.
Ironbound is
the Ironbound is below the rail, the Eastern Seaboard Rail. It's a predominantly South American and Portuguese community. It's our restaurant for entertainment, our entertainment district, our restaurant district.
pretty safe.
It's pretty safe when you compare it to other parts of the city.
Why do you think it is?
Well, I think it's just, I think the element that visits there, they have their problems. Don't let me
But
say
it's not
that it's
as
totally.
bad.
It's not as bad. When I say a city of two tales, it's their problem. You go to a community meeting, they have some street robberies. They'll have a shooting at a housing development, but they're more concerned about double parkers and trucks parking overnight.
Different issues.
And you go west to the West Ward, what Elijah's talking about, to maybe the Vailsburg section.
Vailsburg section close to Seton Hall University, which is in South Orange, but further down toward Newark. Go ahead.
Right. And then you may have some violence issues. You may have shootings. You may have open-air drug markets more up that way. So, it's the main thing that drives the crime is drugs. When you get
Drugs drive crime.
drugs, drives the crime. That's the nitty-gritty to it.
But drugs combined with accessibility to weapons,
Guns are at the core of all of the
yeah,
key violence
key.
issues. in
not
the city of
drugs,
Newark.
but okay. Is it not either or?
Those interact.
both. It's both.
Drugs and
Right.
guns.
Yeah,
Drive
yeah,
it.
yeah.
It's
Make the
both.
case, Professor.
But if you just had drugs, you'd have a different situation of violence.
It's
If
both.
there were no guns on the streets,
That's right.
you'd have the drugs,
Okay.
but you wouldn't.
Okay, but let's assume for a
because those
second-
drugs are also in other cities in New Jersey where there aren't the guns. And the different
But here's the
problems
thing. We're not. I'm not going to say we're not here to debate gun control, but it's always part of the discussion. Guns. We're not getting rid of guns in the city of Newark anytime soon.
Right.
Are we dramatically? Could we reduce significantly? Honest discussion here on public broadcasting. The number of dangerous guns on the streets. Could we really do that? Is that part of being safer? And then I'll come to you, Director. I promise.
I definitely think it's part of becoming
You do.
safer, yes.
Doable.
In time. I think New Jersey has the best gun laws going, but when you talk about Pennsylvania and their southern states, that's where these guns are coming from. So you're finding out the guns that are involved in our shootings and our murders are coming from, either Pennsylvania or down Maryland or Virginia, down
bring 'em
south.
in.
They're
Just
bringing
bring
them
'em
in.
Bought legally.
Right. So and they're buying them like we can buy a pack of gum. They buy a gun.
And you put guns together with drugs.
Exactly. Where there's drugs,
And
there's guns.
unemployment, too.
And well, there's social ills.
And the frustration.
Unemployment. You have unemployment. You have as far as education. Okay. That's some of the issues that
And
fuels
I'll
the
tell you what,
crime.
when we come back from this very quick break, we'll continue this discussion, but I'm going to try. I know it's difficult, but it is important that we try to have a conversation about the relationship between police and the African American community. We'll start that conversation right after this.
To see more Caucus New Jersey with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
Welcome back, folks. Talking about how to make Newark safer. By the way, Newark could be potentially a metaphor for cities across New Jersey, across the eastern seaboard, across this nation. Elijah, how important do you think being involved in activities, you're involved in sports, activities really are to reducing crime?
I think it's one of the major keys in reducing crime.
Make the case.
Because, especially in inner city communities and black communities, it's very easy to feel like there is no way out of your present circumstances. And my father is a track coach and my mother is an educator. And there's been plenty of stories of how my father has gotten kids track scholarships to college, to Division I colleges, and it's changed their lives. Being a part of activities, it can help a broken home. If there's no father in the house, having that track coach, having that mentor, if you're in an after-school program, it builds up your family. It gives you a second family to go to instead of referring to the streets and to gangs. It keeps you away from trouble. After school, instead of just roaming streets, you're actually doing something helping you. It benefits you. It keeps your grades steady because you know you have to keep your grades a certain way to play these sports or go after school.
Let me ask you a question. Is Elijah, I mean, you know how I feel about you. We all think the world of you. Is he the wrong guy to have here? You
He's the
understand
wrong
what I'm
guy to
saying?
have here.
He's what's that say again?
He's the wrong guy.
He is the.
Let me just say this from a positive.
You know it's a compliment, right?
It's a
Yeah, I know that.
compliment. He's the wrong guy because he has a father in the house, mother in the house, both educated. Dad will tear him all over the
That's
place
right.
if he doesn't do his job. He's going to keep a B+ A average. He is not what is fighting in the streets today on what these two committees are that's coming about. So let's say Director Ambrose is dealing with folks with dropped out of high school, now doing drugs. There's only a woman in the house that's raising them. We just were in a disciplinary because I'm sitting on a particular board, and the mother couldn't control the daughter, just yelling and screaming at the mother in a disciplinary meeting. There's no man in the house. So you have 72% in Newark. He is one of the gifted ones to not have that. That is only a one-parent household, and she might be working 2 or 3 jobs, doesn't even see her kids. And when they hit that 13 to 14 age group, if we don't grab them, we lose them. So now I hate you. You know, this is Mr. White Man coming in telling me what to do.
He's also with a gun and a badge.
You know,
You add that.
you're just picking on me. So let's just add all the drama we have out in the world. So even if he's just asking a simple question, it goes to volatility.
By the way,
So I just want to qualify that.
He's the wrong guy, but the right guy in this way.
Right, that's
Tell
right.
folks what you're going to be studying.
I'll be studying social work and minoring in psychology in college.
Why?
Because, like you said, because I'm the wrong guy, I
Not
know
the
what
wrong
I know.
You know
but
what we mean
the
by
quote-unquote wrong guy. I know.
He's the wrong guy. That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
I know what the city need. I know what my peers need. I know what the youth need. And I'm planning a community event actually in September with a nonprofit organization called Painting Pictures. And the theme of this organization is to paint a picture, a different picture for yourself, for your future, than the picture painted for you by your community,
You're
by
organizing
negative influence. Yes.
You're going to lead.
Yes. I think it's very important that I know from my point of view, I lived a sheltered life. I had both parents. Like you said, I'm very blessed, and I know that, and I appreciate it. But from that standpoint, I'm able to help younger kids and really identify with them because I understand that they're not bad kids. They're just kids who just need a little push.
Right.
They need a little motivation. They just need someone to help them stay on track because there's greatness inside of them. There's something special that Newark needs from them. And that we can't make Newark better until we get what's inside of these young people because they have the key.
So when will you be announcing for mayor?
Sounds like a good candidate, right? But can I say one more thing before you move on? You know, if we lose the funding that the state is talking about taking away from our public schools.
Right. You're talking about a plan that's being talked about by Governor Christie.
We already have anarchy now trying to fix it. You know
Right.
it's going to go to this. I just want to put that out on the
Yeah,
table.
we'll do school funding on another show, but well said.
But I just want to say that.
I promise you we'll vet that issue as well.
Yes.
But I'm going to try. I'll try. How much of what we were talking about trying to keep Newark safer, is tied to the larger question of the relationship between the police department and the African American community?
So the effectiveness of the police in a city like Newark is deeply tied to its ability to gain and maintain trust with the people who live there, and to have communication going back and forth and information shared back and forth.
How do you do that?
Oh, I think it's very difficult. I mean, I think particularly in today's environment and with the stories that we have put in front of us, it seems like every week, and the natural tendency for there to be this development of tribes, of camps. There's a law enforcement camp and there's
Pick your side.
Black Lives Matter, and you can't pick a side here. There is no safety in a side. Both of these stories have to be played out in their fullest extent, and the police have to be in the middle of a conversation about what public safety really means in a city like Newark for people who live there.
Could you also understand and the director lives this every day with the men and women, the brave, and really pretty terrific men and women on the police department. But again, there have been problems, there have been issues. It's no secret that the federal government has gotten involved because there have been issues, and they're overseeing to a degree what is happening in the police department. But Director, we've been friends a long time. We've talked about a lot of this offline. Do your men and women in blue worry about their own safety?
Sure, each and every day.
Differently now than ever before?
More since Dallas.
Talk about it.
Without a doubt. When you actually see that it happens in Newark, New Jersey, that we have orderly and peaceful protesting going on, has been going on, down Broad Street, down McCarter Highway, through the college areas, they do the same thing that them Dallas police officers were doing. And you think about it, when they walk down University Avenue, the college area, and there's buildings and garages, there's parking garages. So they think, well, wait a minute, we're living the same life, only in Newark, New Jersey. You know, it could happen to us.
What do you say to them?
So you have to first of all, you have to make sure that their safety is paramount. You have to make sure that they're doubled up, they're vigilant more than ever. You have to give them the tools they need to actually be out there. You can't, I mean, we've had a very, very rapid walking patrols and horses we were just talking about. You know, now we have to double and triple team them up going out there for their safety, to make sure that they get done with their job and they go home to their loved ones. So think about the officers that's out there for 8 hours. He or she is not only worrying about the person that they're serving, they're even worrying more about themselves like they normally would each day, that they don't want to be a victim to fall to a Dallas.
And Marjorie, to that point, the issue of trust.
You know, I'm going to say this about our Newark Police Department. 90% of the young men and women are from Newark that's worked on the police department. So we grew up with a lot of the individuals who grew up. I don't know if we're as crazed as some other places. I'm not saying there can't be a lone person out there that could do
Things
something
happen.
dumb.
Events happen.
So that you have to do the
Copycats.
prevention.
Gotta worry about copycats.
But I got to tell you, the copycat would be more of a Newark than it is, I think, a real divide between our police department. That's my gut. Now, I could be wrong on that because...
But you know, I cannot, journalistically, it's irresponsible to not acknowledge that there have been, the ACLU has been involved and made their case, and the federal government came in and concluded there was some legitimacy to this, that blacks had been targeted from a racial profiling perspective by certain police officers in Newark. And here's my question. While the director makes a compelling case, and none of us can even comprehend what it would be like to be trying to protect people, worrying about who could be shooting at you, do you understand some of the fear the other way? Not that we're picking sides, Professor, at all. Not our place. No value in that.
Let me just put it in perspective. My nephew came to visit me in Newark and was stopped right on Route 21. He's a police captain in Maryland. Why are you stopping him?
What was the conversation when you got
yesterday.
home?
So he came in, he was very frustrated. I said, what's wrong? He says, I just got pulled over by the police because I look like somebody.
Oh, boy.
So let me just say that no matter what happens, if you're of a brown hue, it doesn't matter if you're educated, not educated, there are some bad seeds on our Newark Police Department or any police department that's going to say, now he thinks he's doing everything right. He's young.
He could get pulled over.
He could get pulled over tomorrow afternoon because he looks like somebody. This is my nephew who was a captain in the fire department 2 days ago in Newark, pulled over, and let me see your license and driver's. And the gentleman wouldn't tell him why he pulled him over. So that's what the hatred is. He's
That's
a
big
little...
word. Marjorie, it's a big word. Did you mean that? Is it bordering on that?
All right, you want me to clean it up?
No,
All right,
I don't. Marjorie, I don't want you to clean it up.
The hatred is, especially if you're not educated, you don't understand, you have rights to report that officer.
Right.
And you go into defensive mode.
And say that person doesn't report it. I knew I shouldn't have opened this up because now we got a minute left. So say that person doesn't, and that person responds in a certain way. Incident happens.
That's right.
Whatever it is.
We have a minute, but I think, first of all, I think that you said it. The majority of the Newark police officers go out and work hard. and they work very hard. Understaffed for the last 5 years. We're just getting people on board. But I think that police officers, okay, and not all of them, some police officers, they believe sometimes the wrong is the norm. And that's why it's important that we give them training and we find out what they really know and what they don't know and correct that.
To Anthony's point, let me just say this. I'm going to promise you all something. We have a few seconds left. Our production company, together with our partners in public broadcasting, will do a series of programs on the relationship between police and the black community, and it will not be a program, a series of programs over many years, I promise you that. A lot of work needs to be done. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
The preceding program has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence, and 13 for WNET, NJTV, and WHYY. Funding for this edition of Caucus New Jersey has been provided by TD Bank, NJIT, PSE&G, RWJ Barnabas Health, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, the law firm of Gibbons PC, and by Verizon. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. Caucus New Jersey has been produced in partnership with TriStar Studios.
I work for Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield, and I'm a catastrophic case manager. I'm a nurse. I feel a sense of responsibility to each and every member that I speak with on the phone. I know where they live, I know their towns, I know the hospitals they go to. A lot of times I know their physicians, and I love helping people at very difficult times of their lives. The job I have now is the perfect job for me. I think I was born a nurse.